all I'm trying to say is that once I got my license, I felt that I was certainly slipping. I had the freedom. I started kind of getting a little more mouthy with my mom. And I really didn't have any reason to rebel. I mean, my parents were legit. I feel like I was just a rebel without a cause, and I just wanted to do my own thing. I was completely selfish. So I did what I wanted to do.
A 16-year-old boy selfish.
Can you imagine
I can.
a high school?
No way.
No, high school?
No one else was like you, man.
Nobody.
Anyway.
Okay. So
kidding.
now, at that time, I was, I had recorded a bunch of music with Aaron. We were in a band, and my buddy Josh, who I had previously mentioned, who is deceased at this point. He's been deceased for well over a decade, I think now. When I was more involved in church, I mean, I was into punk music and stuff, but I certainly had things that I compromised on. As far as like Aaron and I, we would do like youth services. We had this one dude, he would preach, like that was not my ball game or Aaron's, but Aaron and I would lead the worship. What do we do? Like Old Rugged Cross, like we punked it out, like made it like a punk ska version, and we did like, Lord, I lift your name on high. Like, so, you go from that to now.
Could we get a little
rendition?
A rendition of the Old Rugged Cross punked out?
I think I had a cassette of the actual Old Rugged Cross version.
All right, everyone, we are going to try to find that.
I will do my
best.
Put
a clip of it in here for you.
It's not worth listening to, but yes, I had it at one point. I just don't know where it is now. So I'm getting more into like pop punk and stuff, and starting to just kind of compromise everything. I was starting to do that. I was very influenced by like that whole thing. And then I linked up with a girl that I had a crush on since 8th grade, my junior year.
Oh, mama.
Yeah, she was like my high school sweetheart. We dated for, I think, 3 years off and on. Whatever, it was like my first,
first love.
Quote unquote love. It's just puppy love. But my friend John got me into a band called Jimmy Eat World. And Jimmy Eat World changed everything for me. Because while everybody else, including myself, was listening to punk and ska and pop punk and pretty much everything like in the punk realm, Jimmy Eat World was this sophisticated indie rock, post-grunge, pre-screamo. Like they had some screaming, not a lot, just occasionally in some of their stuff. But they were just a lot more sophisticated than the music that was coming out that we were listening to. And that really opened me up to a whole array of different bands that were like, I guess, quote unquote emo or indie rock, which now if you use those terms, they're so misused and they've been watered down so much. Not that they're subgenre terms anyways already, or like subgenres of a subgenre. Anyway, at that time, emo was like, I don't know, Weezer's Pinkerton and Sunny Day Real Estate. Like that was kind of the definition of emo at the time. It was like nothing. And then you had like underground bands like Mineral. Other random bands that Dan has no clue what I'm talking about right now, and I'm sure
I don't.
I'm sure most people don't, and they don't care, and good for you, honestly. Like it doesn't really matter.
But I'm sure that Gons is going right now, hey, I know what he's talking about.
He might. He might not. He was more into heavier stuff, I think, than I was. I wasn't really into the metal scene. I was more into the punk scene, so to speak. That led me into all those bands, and I started going, man, I don't want to play pop punk anymore. Like, I want to do something more just straight up rock, but like, I got into this EP that was on a label called Fueled by Ramen. And I find out, okay, Fueled by Ramen is owned by like the drummer of Less Than Jake and another dude. And I'm like, that's cool. I wonder what other bands they put out. Because like, this is, you have to remember, this is like 2000. And you remember Netscape Navigator? Does anyone remember that? I mean,
Can you remind? What is
I'm just saying, like 95, 96, when the internet was just blooming.
Oh, yeah.
So like it's in my high school, but a lot of people use it. Some people don't. You know, it's not totally the way yet. So we're all being slowly integrated into it. Not everybody has an IM. Not everybody has an email address.
AOL Instant Messenger. That was the thing.
That's
I remember
right.
that.
That's right. So that girlfriend that I had, she knew I liked that EP so much, and I had already purchased the Jimmy Eat World's first album, which is called Static Prevails, for like $20 when I was in Florida on like a band trip / choir trip at Disney World. You know, like, I mean, I was that dedicated. Like, I got on the bus, again, music. My God, I didn't have a credit card. I can't order things online. You know, it's a totally different era in like the 90s / early 2000s, just as the internet's blooming. So I had their first album, and I had this EP on Fueled by Ramen, and then this girl gets me this album called Clarity. Imitate and water down. Stop action, breathes on its own. Before the crash, I'll write it out. Stop action, breathes on its own. Make them open the request line. Let selection kill the old. Take back the radio. And my goodness, that just, I've never been obsessed with an album probably as much as I was obsessed with that one. Maybe with the exception of Nirvana at the beginning. I mean, I was really into Nirvana. I was really into Sublime. That really shaped what was to come for me stylistically. Not that I ripped it off completely, but it was certainly an influence. And that's why I'm saying this right now. It's just an important part of what shaped what was to come.
No, I'm sorry, and I may be jumping ahead, but this is the same girl that had to do with Roses Are Blue?
No.
Okay.
This is all way before that.
Okay.
So then I'm into this album called Clarity for like maybe a month during the summer, and then I go to Warped Tour 2000. The way Warped Tour works, for those of you who haven't been there, who are listening to this, Dan, you've never been to Warped Tour, and Warped Tour has really changed, and it was even changing in 2000 compared to what it was in like 95 or 96. I think it was 95 when it first came out. So it's always been evolving, so to speak. The big bands were like Green Day, NoFX. I can't even remember all the bands that year, but they had all these smaller stages. The up-and-comers, bands that were touring in a van, you know, playing lots of cities but just weren't big, that were on smaller record labels, like independent record labels. Immediately I get into this place. Okay, I've been here once before. I kind of know the drill, all these booths. I know what I'm looking for. I don't care about like Epitaph or any of these punk rock, Fat Records, whatever. I want to find at least one more band that's like Jimmy Eat World, or like that's gonna like blow my mind the way that album did. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the Fueled by Ramen booth. I get to the Fueled by Ramen booth and I go, hey, I have this EP that you guys put out by Jimmy Eat World. It's a 5-song EP, and I love their album called Clarity. I was wondering if you have any other bands on this label that are kind of like them that I could get into. It was like a chick that ran the booth. She's like, oh, you would love the Stereo. And I'm like, the Stereo? So I check out this compilation CD that she has, like a Discman. This is back, you know, Discman age. And she hands me these headphones, and I put it on, and she plays this song. I understand what you're going through, but nothing's too bad thing to do. It's just another part of you. But she would never go with me, and she would never go with me. Every now and then you make up your face to pretend. You know it's a shame what they say. It's awful taste. Well, this time my friend is the end. The only one. I never heard a voice so powerful in a rock band. I can't even describe the voice, but I was like, there's no way he sounds this good live. She's like, well, you need to buy this. They have a brand new EP out. It was like $5 for the EP or like $10 for the full length. And I'm like, well, I don't want just 4 songs if this band's really good. Like, I want the album. But the EP only has 4 exclusive songs that aren't on the album. So it's like, do I get the new songs or do I get the like 12 old songs or 13 old songs? I'm like, no, I'm not playing games with EPs right now. I want a full length. So I spent the entire $10 and then I spent my extra $5. It's all the money I had. I had like $15. And I got I picked up that compilation that they were on too, which actually introduced me to some other bands that I'll mention after this. But so they're like, go to this stage. I forget the name of the stage. You know, it was a smaller stage. And they had some of the up-and-coming bands who definitely would later go on to explode that were playing that same stage. Mm-hmm. Bands like Midtown, time that's passed, no one understands. Newfound Glory, The Impossibles, I believe The Anniversary. Dear Dad, I'm having trouble feeling sad. Your words find secret pathways through my spine. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, whatever, I'm just kind of laying out a picture here. But so I get there to see the Stereo. Never heard of this band until today. And I don't know how it is for everybody else, but it's not often that you go to a show and you've really never heard of a band and you're discovering them for the first time. You might have heard one song by them, but not enough to remember the song or what it sounds like per se. Maybe sort of a general idea of what the band sounds like stylistically. But I was like, this guy has pipes. Like, this dude can just kill on the vocals. I was like, I've heard some bands that were doing something where the singer wasn't so raw and gritty, where they were kind of crooning, so to speak, like bands like the Smoking Popes. Come with me, and we'll be in a world of pure imagination. This dude blew me away vocally. The band blew me away as far as how tight they were in the style. And then to top it off, I walked away singing this song. Like, I couldn't forget the song at all. It was called Ramona. Hey Mona, Ramona, I told you Ramona. Hey Mona, Ramona, I told you Ramona. I've been begging for years to put us back in high gear. So will you wait for me? Will you see that I'm the only one? Ramona, Ramona, yeah. And I just kept singing it. And I was like, man, I've never walked away from any band that I've never heard before singing their song. Immediately I was hooked. Now this band, they really didn't sound exactly like Jimmy Eat World, but the dude's voice was just infectious. And I was like, I wish one day I could be, or at least have a voice that strong. But I never thought I could get there. I just thought there's a great goal to get to, you know. Just like I had a goal to beat the Butterfly record, you know, in high school. Man, it would be nice. That's my goal. You know, it would be cool to do that. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I'll try.